Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel. We're not in the workshop today, we're down in my office because I wanted to talk a little bit about my 3D printing setups. And I've had people ask a little bit of questions on the various Bambu printers I've got, what I'm thinking of them, how I'm using them right now. So I thought I'd give a quick little update over what I've been doing with them, how I have them set up to maybe give you a better impression about some of their kind of more consumer level printers and what might work well for you. So if that's interesting to you, want to find out more, stay tuned. I'm going to jump right into it. All right, so first off, let's talk about the first two Bambu printers I got, and that would be the A1 Mini and the A1 Combo. These are open frame 3D printers, and they work well for things like PLA and PETG, things that don't need as much temperature control, don't need as high of temperature, and aren't going to be as putting out as many bad VOCs and smells. So PETG and PLA are very common, easy to use filaments that work well for kind of indoor things and maybe shop items that don't need extreme high strength and such. Although they've been making strides in some of the filaments to make them better. The thing that you won't want to do with especially PLA is in any like high temperature environment, having outdoors in the sun, things like that. That's where they're not going to work well. But for shop fixtures, laser accessories, just your general fun decorative tchotchkes and such, these printers work great, and they are a great price point to get into the hobby. Now the A1 I have set up over here just with the standard spool. It will work with the AMS, and recently Bambu did update the firmware of the A1 Mini and the A1 to allow you to work with the AMS, the regular AMS versus the AMS Lite or the AMS Pro. So you do have some options there if you want to add multicolor to them. On the A1, I do have the combo, and I did recently print the top mount to make more space down on the end for additional items. It does come with a base where you can start off the side, and you don't need to worry about that. The downfall of the A1 or the AMS Lite is that it is open, and so you want to have it in as best of a climate-controlled area as possible. 3D printing filament does not like to absorb moisture from the air, and so over time that can cause prints where you have various just layer adhesion issues. You can have bubbling, you can have stringing, keeping your filament dry is an issue. So having it stored on the AMS, depending on your environment, may cause some issues for you. Now there are prints that you can enclose these and add desiccant packs or even airflow and heating. But for me, down in my basement here, it stays fairly consistent. If it's up there for too long, I do put it into a filament dryer, such as the one you might see way over on the end there. We'll touch on that in a little bit. But for just general kind of casual use, it works pretty well. You just do need to be mindful about filament kind of quality control of your environment. Now, one of the biggest differences between these two is going to be their overall physical size and then their working area size. So the A1 Mini has a build area of about 110 millimeters cubed, whereas the A1 is 256 cubed. And so it's about twice, maybe a little over twice the area on the A1. And for the minimal price difference, you may really just want to consider the A1 for you. But if space constraint really is an issue, and maybe that extra $100 or so is definitely going to break it, the A1 Mini does quite a bit. It's very capable of creating a lot of prints that will work in that kind of roughly 4-inch cubed area. So things like, I've made dust extraction port things. What I'm printing over here is a lens cap for a Galvo laser. This would also fit on the A1 Mini. So you're not necessarily missing out on a whole lot, but bigger plate size is always nice just to give you some expandability, maybe some larger prints, and not have to worry about being quite so constrained into the small build plate. I will also say that with the speeds that these can get up to, the A1 Mini being lighter weight and smaller footprint, occasionally has had a tendency to want to start walking. So you want to make sure that maybe you put some grip pad underneath it, just so that if it's on a slippery surface, kind of like this IKEA shelf I've got going here, that it doesn't wander off. I haven't had near those issues with the regular A1. Not that it's been a big problem, but just one of the smaller things I've noticed between the two. The other thing that I really like about this series of printers is they are they're probably the most quiet 3D printer I've run. The fans do provide some cooling, but I could work with this thing running in the background. I could even take a meeting on my computer, which is only about 6 to 8 feet away, and feel like this wouldn't be overly distracting. Some of the other ones, such as the P1S and even like the FlashForge AD5X, they're not loud, but they have more white noise, more fan noise, that may just be a little more distracting in those environments. So other than that, I really haven't done too many modifications to these printers. I did, of course, print out for each one with these multicolor machines especially, but even just single color, it does like to purge filament, and you get these little things called printer poop. And so there are some free files out there for these to print out and help contain that. So I've done those mods. Like I said, I put the A1, the AMS mount on top of that one. And I do have a light bar kit for this one that I need to add. I haven't done that quite yet. This is something that Ryan Ballard did a video on, and I thought, hey, I want to check that out and add that. So we're probably going to add that later. And I believe they also have a light mod for the P1S. Other than that, I've been using these two for over a year. I've had very minimal problems with them, and as a matter of fact, it's really come down to filament issues, and usually bed adhesion or bad filament, and the fact that I needed to dry it out first. So they've been pretty rock solid, and they're very easy to maintain with this open frame. The A1 and A1 Mini have kind of a hot swap, well, not really hot swap, but a quick swap nozzle that really is magnetically held in, as well as the mechanical clasp. It's very easy to swap those out as well. So appreciate that design on these printers as well. So that's kind of these printers in a nutshell. Loving like I said, loving the AMS, even for just using up spools of filament. That's probably where I use it more than necessarily multicolor prints. If I'm getting low on a color on one roll, I can add the same color on the next one. As it gets through that complete roll, it'll do a purge and restart on the new roll without really missing a beat, without losing layer lines, and then you're not wasting that last little bit of filament on the roll that you're not sure is going to complete your print. All right, so the P1S is something that I purchased earlier this year while it was on sale. It is an enclosed printer. It has the same build volume as the A1 with that 256 millimeter cubed working area. I think the speeds between the two are similar, but I would give the speed to this one a bit as far as what I've seen in practical prints. Quality-wise, I feel the prints have been the same, but this does open up some options to me that if I want to start putting in some higher temp filaments, some ABS and such, it does have the enclosure. Now, I have made some modifications to this one to make it a little more flexible for me. I do print a lot with PLA and PETG, and so having the ability to better control the temperature in here is nice. It has a glass top on here, and as a matter of fact, that is right here, which normally will sit on top of the printer, but I have printed out this riser to allow me to have that sit up top, open this up to let air out. If you don't have that on there and you're printing these lower temp filaments, you do have to open up the door and leave that open, which adds to the noise, and also it's just kind of annoying to have that open. Now the new P2S solves that with some better fan and air movement in there. It will either extract or use a vent system to keep the heat in or exhaust it out. And so that is a nice feature that would kind of alleviate the need to do this riser, but it's not a big deal. This printed out pretty easily out of some PETG. I think it was basically one full roll. There are a number of different designs out there for this. There was actually one that was pretty cool that had some drawers and such, but I just needed something simple that would hold the plate and get this airflow up there. So that's working out pretty well. Now I do have the regular AMS on here. When I got this, the AMS 2 or the AMS Pro was just coming out. And I didn't want to spend the extra money on this setup at the time. Once I pushed into that combo, it was going to be around $1,000, and without that, it was like $850. So I decided we'll give that a shot. And also, Sunlu came out with their AMS lid heater box, which allows you to do filament drying in the AMS itself. It's powered separately from the printer. And so I figured I'd give that combination a shot. I love having the AMS on the printers for opening up multicolor print capabilities, as well as I mentioned earlier, being able to really fully utilize, get the spool run out, you make sure you have another color loaded in, or another spool, the same color loaded in, and it will just continue your print without any problems. Now, the Sunlu heater box, what do I think of it? I mean, it works well as a filament dryer. It's nice that it can have the 4 in there, but you do have to make sure that your settings are basically for, the same filament across there. It has options to choose. It has kind of presets that you can choose between PLA and PETG, ASA, all those, or you can make your own manual presets. Now, Bambu will caution you that you shouldn't run the heater and be actively dehumidifying while the print is going, because that does heat up the filament. It can soften the filament and can give you feed and extrusion issues. You're basically just trying to pull the moisture out of the filament. It is a nice add-on. It went onto this machine very smoothly. You just had to take a few screws out, swap out the hinges, and it is there. It does add a little bit of bulk and a little bit of weight to the printer and the head, but it works well. Is it worth the upgrade? I don't know. I bought it thinking, hey, I needed more filament drying capacity. And why not have it attached to the printer I'm using anyway? So for me, it's okay. The filament dryers, the actual meant for this purpose, do kind of run up there. I think the 2-spool Creality that I like waffles between $70 to $100. This one was a little over $100, I think. I ordered it, I don't know, 4 or 5 months ago on the pre-order, and it finally came this fall. I think it's nice. It's great. The touch panel on it works very well. But I don't know that it is necessarily critical or even necessarily good to use it while the printer's in operation. So I'm liking it. Like I say, I'll just run the filament through its drying cycle before running it. So oftentimes before I go to bed, I set the thing to dry, and then when I get up in the morning, I set the print to go. Now, addressing some of the concerns about the P1S versus the P2S, the touchscreen, it does have this kind of basic LED screen on there. You got to use the kind of the directional pad and the OK buttons and such. It's not great. I don't use it a lot because my computer's right over there. I've got Bambu Studio running on that, or I can load it up my phone. So this doesn't bother me too much. Even on the A1, where they have the nicer touchscreen here, I don't use it a whole lot. I usually just run the software to figure out what's going on. So it's a nice update. I like having a better display up here, but I don't feel it's mission critical. Probably about the only quirk I've noticed with this is in the back, it has, it's basically where the filament is purged. It drops down that chute and then out the back. And I do have a little bit of a poop chute there as well. Occasionally things don't go through the chute and they end up sometimes underneath there. You can see little kind of bits of extruded filament. That's been probably my only issue with the P1S. And I've only had a couple times where the printer threw an error, like it couldn't home the Z. Just go and clear the filament and hit OK and move ahead. So, all right, so a couple other tips. I do keep some isopropyl alcohol on hand, and usually just a terry cloth or even a paper towel. Before prints, I will wipe down the bed, make sure it's clean of any, if I touched it with my fingers, I don't want any finger oil, any of that debris on there. That helps the adhesion issue. I have also printed out, this is a little toolbox for the kit of tools that come with most Bambu printers. So this keeps this all organized. I keep that handy just in case I need to do any quick maintenance on the printers. And then of course, here is my filament dryer. You see it is running on some PLA right now. We're just getting that all dried up. They do have a couple ports you could feed it right out of there. There are some rollers under there. They work pretty well. So all in all, a pretty simple setup. The only thing I would say I need to work out now is filament storage. As you're printing with these, you find a lot of cool different colors you need, and the filament storage becomes a bit of an issue. Right now, I just have some wire shelves over here that I have kind of it stacked up. I keep them in boxes, usually put the desk kit pack back in, and it works, but I'd like to have it a little more accessible so I can see what colors I have. And so maybe I'll do a rack up here. I know it's not great to necessarily keep them out in the open. A lot of these might fit into gallon bags, or you can get the vacuum seal things, anything to just kind of keep them away from the moisture. But as I said, you got a filament dryer like the Creality one over there. Just a little bit of pre-planning helps take care of that. So I will be doing more in the future with these printers, but kind of wanted to give people a little bit of an update. I know this time of year there are a lot of sales coming out, and so Bambu actually has just launched their holiday sale. They're calling it their Black Friday, Cyber Monday sale, but it starts today here, November 28th, 2025. And so if you're wanting to take advantage of those, they do have the P1S combo with the AMS at a pretty good price. It's right around $570. That's a good couple $100 less than I paid for this just a few months ago. Yes, they do have the P2S coming out, and the pricing on that should be out soon. Maybe something you want to consider with some of the updates there. But this is a quality printer, works very well, very flexible. And also, I wouldn't count out the A1 in your options as well, or even the A1 Mini. They are great printers, and if you're just sticking to some more of those indoor open air filaments, they will work great. Another thing that a viewer recently turned me on to is I've played around with some of the light boxes before, and there is kind of a Bambu maker for light boxes. So I've been playing around with that. This is a nice way of using multicolor. And so it just kind of automatically creates this box. That's what's printing in here is the backer. Put some LED lights in there and it'll light up. But it will take a lot of, you need to have a clean graphic, but they'll take a normal graphic, vectorize it, remove backgrounds as needed, and pretty much automatically set up this light box for you. So I might do a full video on that as I see how this works out, because that is a kind of fun thing in a way. With these 3D printers, you can make some really nice gifts or some things to sell to area businesses and clubs and organizations. I'll try to highlight that in a future video as well. But wanted to kind of give an update. I know people have been asking me about the printers, my opinions of them, what I like about them, and so that's kind of my update on the Bambu printers, where they're at, how I've been using them, and my recommendations for you. So I'll have links down below to these printers if you want to check them out and take advantage of that Bambu Lab sale. Appreciate if you use that link. It does give me a small commission kickback at no extra cost to you, and does help this channel out a bit, as well as letting the company know that you appreciate my content, and hopefully they'll want to continue to work with me in the future. If you have any questions or comments, go ahead and leave those down below. Always love that interaction, and hope to see you back in a future video, whether it's out in the shop doing with lasers and CNCs, or down here messing around with the 3D printers. Have a great day. Most importantly, get out in your workshop and make something too. We'll catch you next time.